Hello guys, welcome back. In this video, let's go through Quivr, your Gen AI Second Brain. Many of you mentioned that please create the video where you can use the open source models and where you can run the model locally. My approach will be in that direction. And in this video, we will be first going through what is Quivr Web App in general, that is hosted by the Quivr team. And then the second one will be replicating that web UI in the local machine so that you can use the open source models as well as OpenAI models if you want. But there are some of the prerequisites also, like you need to have Docker desktop installed if you want to go with the OpenAI model only. But if you want to go with the open source Llama 2, then you need to have Docker desktop as well as Ollama installed in your machine. First, make sure that you have Docker desktop and Ollama installed in your machine. If you don't know what is Docker desktop, so I can just quickly show you here. This is the Docker desktop. Just download this for your machine and you will be ready to go. As well as if you go to the Ollama, I'm not going to talk about Ollama in details in this video, but if you want me to create videos in Ollama as well as in Docker, let me know. I will create in the future videos, but you need to download this one also. Available for macOS and Linux, Windows coming soon. Just download this Ollama and Docker desktop, then we are ready to go. By the end of the video, you will be able to create the same looking UI in your local machine where you can use the local models, and we will be using Llama 2 in this case. Let's get started. I have already created two different videos when Quivr was first introduced. You can go and watch these two videos, but it's not necessary, and you can just follow this video and you will be able to run all the different things. And before I start today's video, if you are new to this channel and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and like the video so that many people find the contents. That's how the YouTube algorithm works, as well as it motivates me because I have many videos in the pipeline for 2024. And it would be a really interesting year 2024. There will be many educational videos coming up. I will first show you what is Quivr Web App, because the same thing will be in the local machine. I don't need to show you in two different places. If you don't want to run this locally, you can just go with the Quivr Web App and then just use it, right? For that, you can go and click this link, or I will provide the link in the description. By the way, I'm not going to provide this diagram, but I'll provide all the descriptions, whatever link I'm showing you in this video. So feel free to go there and just click it. This is the UI, right? But I'm now already logged in here. But for you, let me open this in incognito window. You need to sign up first. So here it says talk to Quivr. Either sign up with your email address, normally with continue with email, or use the continue with Google and use your Google account. Once you are signed in inside this, you will have the UI something like this, right? So what is here? Let's go through the UI first. On the left side, you can see there is this chat where you can have the chat. As you can see here, I'm on the chat screen or chat UI. There is this explore, and this is what I find interesting also, because there are two different things. One is the private and is the public brains. In this case, there is a brain concept. So these are the brains which are being shared by other people. You can just go here. Let me say that, let me just click this one here, and it says here subscribe. This is just a random test things. You can just subscribe it, and now it will be in your brain. Now that brain becomes your brain, right? And if you want to go here in the brains, you can see that I just subscribed that brain and it is here. And you can create as many brains as you want. If you want to delete, you can just go here and unsubscribe from brain, meaning that the brain is still there in the public space, but it is now being unsubscribed from your brains here. And you can create as many brain as you want. I will show you one by creating here. And if you want to upgrade to the plus version, you can just go from here, plus. There are some this monthly and yearly package things, so you can just go here and try it if you want. But I think for some brains, we can just go here and try it. Let's create one brain, right? If I go to this add new brain, I can go here. It says add new brain, type of brain. There are two different types of the brain that you can create. One is the documents, meaning that you can upload your document and have the conversation with that documents. Second one is, let's say that you are trying to interact with some API and you need to get something from the API, right? For that, you can go through this API part and provide the API endpoints, and then you can start conversation with the API. For this demonstration purpose, I'm going to go with documents because it's easier for you to understand also. But if you want to go through this another part also, you can go and explore that. I will do next, and I need to provide the brain name, right? I will just say test for now. You can provide whatever you want, and the description is okay, test brain. That's all. Now you can choose either to make it private or public. I will make it private for now. If I make it public, then it will appear in this explore and you can explore the public brain. That's how I showed you to explore the public brain. And you can do next. Here there is two different things now. One, you can either upload the document, or next one is you can insert the web link. Let's say that you want to have the conversation or chat with documents kind of things from the website itself. Then you can paste the web link here. As you can see, I have tested some of the things before also. About the private GPT, I just created last video. If you want to know what is private GPT kind of things, just paste the URL and it is going to fetch the information from that particular URL. Or you can upload something here, right? For this case, I'm going to go with this doc private. I will say this one, and then I will say create, right? What it is doing now is brain created successfully. When that is created, as you can see here, this is the test I just created, test brain. If I go inside this, you can see that this is the name I give brain, test brain, and you can make it default brain also if you want. And this is private, and you can make it public. And this is the docs and app through API. We haven't gone through that. And you can see that by default, the model being used is GPT 3.5 Turbo 1106. But in our case, when I will show you in the local machine, we will see here Llama 2 from Ollama. So that's how you can choose the model it is using behind the scene by that particular brain, right? And it says here maximum words per response 256. You can just go here and make it bigger as you want. And here is the custom prompt if you want to provide. Just for the purpose, I will say here test prompt, right? Test prompt is the title, and prompt content I can say as an AI, okay, anyway, AI assistant, just simple things. AI assistant, what will be the content? Answer responsively, let's say that. And I will save this first. It is saved, and I will save this one also, test prompt. So now this is saved. You can remove the prompt if you want, delete the brain if you want. Now what is the next thing? We can have the conversation. You go to the chat. By default, if you notice here, there is this menu. You can just make this bigger or smaller, and there is this test already being chosen. I will just remove this first. As you can see here, it says here add the rate, meaning that you can select a brain. Hashtag, meaning that choose a specific prompt, right? So this is really good because you might have as many brains as you want, and you want to have the conversation with that particular brain. How to do that? Add the rate. If I go here and type add the rate, as you can see, I can choose the brains that I have, right? So the brain I'm going to talk is with the test. So I will say test. If you type hash, then you can see here there are different prompts already being provided. And there is Sam Altman, Elon Musk. You can see all the different prompts it is already being provided. You can even create a new prompt from here. If you want to choose, then you can choose from here, but I'm not going to go through that path right now. So I will just say this one, meaning that I'm going to ask the question from this particular brain. But before going through that also, I want to show you this plus icon here. If you go here, you can create a new discussion. You can add the documents into it. You can see what is the history that you already asked the question, and the parameters. Parameters, as I said you before also, which model you are using. You can choose from here. Right now we are using the hosted version, so that is just the GPT 3.5 Turbo 11.6. I will save this and I will ask the question here, what is private GPT? Because that is the URL that I provided, right? I will dismiss this and I will have the chat. So it should provide me the answer, what is private GPT. As you can see here, it says private GPT is a secure and privacy focused version of the popular GPT 3.5 large language model by OpenAI. If it is designed to prioritize your privacy and data security by allowing organizations to deploy the models within their own infrastructures. So that is correct, right? So if I go here and let's say what is the price of 5 kg of apple, what will it provide? Because I haven't provided that information in that particular document, right? It says the price of 5 kg of apple varies depending on the location and the type of the apple. Why I'm showing you this is because if I provided that information, that it would have provided that particular thing. I have shown you in my previous videos the same my YouTube transcript where I have provided that particular information, right? Whatever you provide, it will provide the answer from there, else it will just provide the normal answer. Because if I ask what is the price of apple, then if you have specifically said there it cost 20 euro, it will say 20 euro, but here it is just generalizing the concept. So that is how the large language model works. I hope now you get the idea how to use this in the web app. Now we will be replicating exactly the same thing locally with Ollama. For that, there are some of the things that you need to consider. You can just go through this, it's on your own time, but we need to follow some of the steps. So there are not that many steps, but before continuing this, as I said you before, you need to have Docker desktop and Ollama installed in your machine. Let me open the terminal here. So now how to make sure that it is installed? If you type Ollama and run something, it should show you some commands, meaning that Ollama is already installed. For Docker also, if you just run Docker, if it shows something, then we know that Docker is installed, but you need to open the Docker also. And let me clear the screen. And for Docker Compose, because we are going to use the Docker Compose, you can use Docker Compose and it will show you the commands like this, meaning that all the things are okay and we can proceed further. What is the first thing that we need to do? Let me go to the GitHub. First thing is we need to clone this. I will just copy this. I will just follow step by step for you here, and just go here, Control V, enter. So I'm cloning Quivr, as you can see here, and I'm going inside the Quivr. Now I'm inside Quivr, right? What is the next thing that I need to do? If I go to the GitHub account, it says that copy .env.example to .env, because here we are providing our environment variables, and it says here how to do that. First you need to cp this. I will copy this. I will just show you all the things from the terminal so it's easier for you to follow. Now I need to edit something, right? Everything is provided in the GitHub. I will just copy this. I will just to Vim. I'm going to use Vim in this case. You can use Emacs or VS Code or whatever text editor or the code editor you want to use. And why we need to do that is because update the OpenAI API key that is inside the .env. As I said you in the beginning, either we can use the OpenAI model or we can use the open source Llama 2 model. If you want to go with the OpenAI model, then what you need to do here is go inside this .env, get the OpenAI API key first from this link, it is provided here, and then paste it there. But just to show you how it looks like, I'm going to run vim.env. So this is the, if you go to the third line or fourth line, there is the OpenAI API key change me. So you need to replace that with your API key. But I'm not going to go with the API key now. I'm going to use the Ollama, right? For that, what we need to do is if I go here, it says here, uncomment the following lines in the .env, Ollama API base URL. So I need to uncomment that particular line, right? So if I go to the Vim again, and you can see I need to uncomment this line. I will do insert mode and I will delete this, meaning that now this is going to be used. I need to save this now. I will do escape :WQ and it is going to be saved. But one more thing what I want to show you, because behind the scene Quivr is using LangChain. So if I want to trace the LLM calls, I can use LangSmith. If you are completely new to LangSmith, then you can watch my previous videos. But what I'm going to also do now is set up the LangSmith. For that, I will again open the .env. I will go to the last line I will go, and then here I will paste the necessary things for LangSmith. I have already make it ready for me here. I will just copy these things. I will delete the API key when I create the video, so it's okay if I show you now here. I will just go here and do Control V. I will show you how it looks like at the end of the video when we run some LLM calls. So I will just save this. What is the next thing that we need to do? If I go to the GitHub, so yeah, after that we need to run the Llama 2 model from Ollama. So Ollama run Llama 2, right? I will copy this, go to the terminal. I will open a new tab now. I will go here and I will just run that particular thing. Ollama run Llama 2. I have already run this. It will directly show me to ask some questions with Ollama, but for you, it will first download the model. As you can see, it says send a message. I can just say hi. As you can see, this is how the speed is right now. It is running locally in my machine, and I'm using M2 24 GB of RAM. Depending upon your machine, the speed might differ. So now this is running. We followed the step until this one. So it says Ollama run Llama 2. You can find more information in Ollama here, meaning that you can go to the Ollama website. And as I said you before also, if you want me to create the detailed video in Ollama, let me know in the comment section. I will create the video later. So what is the next thing that we need to do is we need to run this docker compose pull command. I will copy this, but before that, make sure that you have Docker already opened, right? I will go to the tab again, and in Mac, how you can do is open -a Docker, and it will open the Docker desktop for you. Once the Docker desktop is opened, I will just show you the Docker desktop. So this is the Docker desktop, and I don't have any images, any containers right now. I will show you what happens when I run the docker compose pull, right? So now I will just paste the command I copied, docker compose pull. What happens when I run this is it will pull all the images necessary and which is inside the Docker file. What is happening here is if you go to this GitHub page, there is this Docker file name file here. If I go here, there is somewhere Docker file. You can see there are many Docker compose kind of things, because that is what we are using. And here there should be a file named Docker. So I think it is inside. Let me go to this backend. If I go inside the backend, you can see there is this Docker file. And if I go inside the front end also, let me go back to the Quivr, and if I go maybe in the front end, and there is also the Docker file. I am not pointing to that things, but what the Docker compose does is find all the necessary things, because all the thing is mentioned in the Docker compose commands does all the things for us. We don't need to worry about what is happening there, right? But just to know you high level things what is happening, because when you run the Docker pull, everything is written in the Docker file and what images to pull, and based on that it pulls all the necessary things, right? We run the Docker compose. This is where it went through, as you can see here, and you can see that there is this version this, and it is pointing to the front end, and there is the Docker file. If you go down, there is the back end, there is the Docker file, and so on. And Docker file is big here, this Docker compose. I'm not going to go through each and everything here, but this is what it is doing behind the scene. So now if I go to the terminal, so now everything is done. All the things are now being pulled, right? I will clear the screen. So what is the next command we need to run? If I go down here, if you are going with the OpenAI model, and if you provided the OpenAI API key instead of running Ollama, please run this docker compose op build command only. But I'm going to run with the Ollama. What I'm going to do is copy this docker compose -f, docker compose ollama.yml, this build command. I will copy this. I will go back to the terminal, and here I will paste this and run enter. And if you notice here, it is pointing to docker compose -ollama.ml file, right? If you go to the GitHub again, you can see I showed you before also, there are many 1 2 3 4 5 6 different docker compose files. We need to point to the specific one in order to run the specific ones. Why I'm saying you this is because here there is another docker compose command which says that if you are a developer and you can run the project in development mode, it is pointing to docker compose.dev.ml file. You need to be careful which ML file you are pointing to. And one more thing here is, if you have a Mac, go to Docker's desktop settings, general, and check that the file sharing implementation is set to Virtuos FS. I have already done this, but where you can go is you can go to the Docker desktop and the settings and generals, right? You can go here. By the way, there are already the images being pulled here. You can go to the Docker desktop. You can go to the settings. In the general, there is this Virtuos, gRPC, Fuse, and some other things. You need to choose this one. That is what it is saying there. Just do that. As you can see here, now there are different images being pulled. Before it was empty, right? What it is doing is, if I go to the terminal now again, it is pulling all the images now here already, and now it is setting up the environment. How do we know that now we are ready to run the applications? Because it might be confusing if you are running this on the terminal and you see that, okay, there is something running, but when do I know that it is okay or not, right? One thing is, you can just follow along these messages shown in the terminal and see what is happening. So it is doing something here. But the next thing is, there is already the links being provided for you, so that it's easier if you are ready to go or not. Because if there is something running on the terminal, let me make this clear. As you can see, it is something is happening behind the scene, right? If this stops and if it does not run, then we know that there is something wrong. If it is still running something, meaning that something is running here, meaning that something is not broken. This is the simple way that I'm providing to you, but if you know what is happening here, you already know that, okay, it is doing something, right? But just for you who are completely new to Docker things, you know what the steps you need to follow, but then you might be confused, okay, now what to do? So there are three different things. You need to log into the app, connect to the Supabase database, because behind the scene it is using Supabase data. Everything is running locally, meaning that all the things are being set up for us. And second one is, you can now sign in the app with your new user from this, and there is also the backend. I find many of you being confused that, okay, I cannot sign up, I cannot sign in, because first you need to connect to your database. So I will click this in the new tab. It is not running, meaning that the setup is not still completed, right? And there is this localhost 3000 login, localhost 5050 docs, where you can see the APIs. I will show you how it looks like also. But now if I go to the terminal, as you can see here, it is something is happening here, right? It is running all the different things, but it says here something. I'm showing you deliberately because it is saying here that 5432 is listening, is already in use. What does that mean? If you have already used PostgreSQL, you know that 5432 is the port for PostgreSQL, right? I'm showing you this because not many people who are creating the content to you what is happening behind the scene, and you might be confused. Okay, my app is not running. How can I do this? How to solve this? Because if there is some other issues here, what I suggest you to do is go to the GitHub and go to this issues tab on the top, because somebody else will be already having the problem about this, and you can just ask questions here, or it's not only you who might face the issue, because somebody else has already faced that issue and somebody in this world has already answered that, so that without knowing that person, you already know the answer, right? 5432 meaning that there is the Postgres. For me also, maybe at some point I have installed PostgreSQL in my local machine, and that port is being resolved for PostgreSQL. So how can I resolve that? I can resolve that by providing a different port. How we can do this? Clear the screen. From where we are getting the environment variables, it from the .env file, right? What you can do is just go to the terminal here and just to vim.env again, and here you can search 5432, right? If I go here in the vim, if you do slash and 5432, and if you run enter, as you can see here on line 78, there is the Postgres port that is listening to 5432. So everything is mentioned in the .env file where we are providing the environment variables. So now I need to provide some other name here, right? I can go here and name maybe 5439 and I will do escape :wq and save this. You can use any code editors you want. So once that is saved, now what we can do is now again run the same command. So if I run the command now, the good part of Docker is that whatever you run before, everything is saved in the cache, so it will be running faster. As you can see, it is already created and now it is running so fast that it went to that part where it was throwing the error, and now it is doing all the create things. As you can see here, Supabase things is now done because that was the obstacle there, that it went to find the 5432 port. It was already being used and now everything is running behind the scene. Everything is now going as it is now. Let's wait. Okay, I think it is, yeah. One thing that I said you before is once you can run the link that is provided in this Quivr app. So if you go down, there are 3 different links. One way is to also go from here, and as I said you before, it's difficult for you to go through the terminal, but as you can see here, at some point you can see that ready started server and it's listening to port localhost 3000, meaning that our app is now ready to listen something. And in our another terminal or the UI, we have the Ollama run llama 2 is running there, right? Now what I can do, if I refresh this, it asks us the username and password. So if you go to this page, it says here for login we need to use admin. What we can do here is just type here admin and then admin and sign in. So now we are inside our database. As you can see here, there is no users now. And if you go down here, this is the authentications. If you go here, this is the database. If you go up here, there are the tables, all the different tables. So this is by default already being provided for us by the Docker Compose commands, right? Everything is being created here. Some of the tables will be created here. For example, if you go to these users, we don't have any users. If you go to the user settings, this is just normal things. We don't have anything here now, right? But what happens if we do something? Let me now go to the another UI here, localhost 3000 login. If I go here, it shows here, okay, we need to log in, but there is no sign up page. I find some of you mentioning in the GitHub account in the issues also, okay, I cannot log in, how to log in? Because in order to log in here, you need to go to the backend. This is where the backend comes into play. You need to first create the user name and password, because some of you even went to the Quivr's hosted web UI, created the username and password and used that to log in locally. That's not how it works, because that is hosted somewhere else and this is completely in your local machine, meaning that they are not connecting to each other, right? So here you need to create the user. To create the users, this is this authentication here. There is this add user. Go here and create a new user. What I will do here is I will do test, right? And I will provide some password here. And then you need to use this auto confirm user, because the email address I will just say here test@test.com, because it is complaining that it should have something like this. Now this is the username and this is the password, right? And I can create the user. As you can see, it says change your password. Okay, I can change this later, but now you can see there is this email that is your username created today, right? Meaning that now we can go and log in. Many of you find that confusing and say, okay, how can I log in, right? So this is the place you need to be careful again. And if you now go to the tables and if you go here to the users, now you can see that the user ID is being created. Before it was empty. Whenever you do something, that is reflected in the backend, right? When we go and click the chat history, there is no chat history, but when we start having the chat conversation, it will appear here. And this is the brain vectors. There is empty now, there is nothing, and everything will be appearing here. Remember to come back here. I'm not going to go again and again, but you get the idea. Whenever you run something, this will be here. And now if I go to the app and read test.com and I will provide the password here, and then I will login. It says invalid credentials. So maybe I forget the password. It should be maybe this one. Is it still enable. Okay, I think I misplaced the password, so I will again go and create here. This is the good part here. So I will go to the authentication, and here I will just go here. I think I cannot edit this. Is there some way? I will create the new one. So I will go here and I will create, okay, example.com, and I will just do create here. Okay, include, I need to have example @example, create user. It is already confirmed. I will go to the Quivr and here example@example.com, and I will put the password here. And now if I log in, now I'm inside the web app. So this is how it is reflected, the same as the web app, right? I'm not going to go through all the different things here now, but you get the idea. Here you can just ask the questions, and if you go to the brains, there is no brain. If you go to the private, public, there is no brains. You can create the brain from here now, right? But before that, I want to show you one more thing, because there is this third link also here. It says docx. What is this? I will just show you, and you can just go ahead and play around. If you just see this, you know that it is using fast API, and this is the get, post, and this is the brain, this is the health, this is the chat, because this is useful when you are building something, right? So you can just go here and test it, and this will just appear here once you already have your app running. So I'm not going to go through this now, but you get the idea. This is how it shows here also, and it says Quivr backend API, right? So now let's go through the app. I will create the brain, default brain. Now it shows here, because when you create the web app, by default there will be a default brain, because there should be some brain, right? And now I will create a new brain. I will go here, same as here. I will go with the documents, and I will give it test. This is a test brain. I will make it private. I will do next. I will upload here something, so you can upload here. I'm just uploading the same file I used to upload about this create llama, and I will say create. It says brain created successfully, dismiss. I can go inside this test brain. You can see test brain. This is private documents, and now you see the difference. Before it was in the web UI, the OpenAI's model, but now it is Ollama Llama 2. And if I go here, this is just the model, because I haven't provided the OpenAI API keys, and Ollama Llama 2 is here because that is running locally in our machine, right? And you can just go here and change this. You can provide the prompt title, whatever you want to do. I'm not providing now, but I will just save this. Okay, brain saved successfully, right? So now what I can do, I can go here and check the people here. This is another part that I forget to mention you in the web app, but what you can do here is, okay, click to copy this, and you can share this with someone else, and you can provide the email address, and you can share the same brain. Whatever I upload the document here, the next person does not need to upload the document. They can just have the conversation with it, right? And there is the knowledge meaning that what we just uploaded, right? I uploaded this create llama react developer WhatsApp PDF. So you can upload as many things as you want. You can even go here and provide the link. This is the link I provided. I can just go here, click this one. This is a little bit confusing there. So, and then you can, this is here, you can just send to the brain. So as you can see, now we have create llama react, and this is the delete brain. We don't want to delete. Now we need to have the chat, right? I will go to this chat icon here. As you can see, by default there is this test zone, because you can choose the brain. As I said you before, you can just go here and choose the brain test, right? And then I will just ask here, what is create llama? By the way, now you need to be careful. This is not using OpenAI model. This is using Ollama and Llama 2 from Ollama. The response time, as you can see, it might differ based on the OpenAI's model and this, but as you can see, it is answering the question, and the response time is quite good, and this is completely local. And if I now turn off my internet connection also, it will work. That is why it is saying running locally without needing to have the internet access once you have all the model installed. The private GPT is also the same. Ollama or this Quivr is also same, meaning that it's completely private. As you can see here, it says, okay, create llama. In this video we are learning how to create RAG using create llama. Firstly, we need to provide this. Yeah, it is providing the answer from there. And one thing here, I have what is the price of the apple, right? I will ask what is the price of 5 kg of apple, because here I have provided the price as 20 euro for 5 kg. Before I didn't provided that, it was just throwing the random answer for me. But now if I ask what is the price of 5 kg of apple, it should provide me 20. It says, okay, hello Quivr, this. Now it is not providing the answer because I understand you want to this. Okay, it is not providing the answer, but I can just go ahead and again ask it, okay, what is the price of 5 kg of apple? By the way, it is answering something here again. Although I asked it 5 kg, it is saying some random things. I will just go here and ask this again, what is the price? This is happening because we are using Llama 2, right? We are not using AI's model from the API input. We are using Ollama running Llama 2, and the answer might also differ because it depends how much RAM it is being used. Although I have 24 GB of RAM, some of the RAM might be used somewhere else, and the RAM that is needed might be less, right? Now it is not just providing the answer. Okay, unfortunately I don't have access to real-time pricing data for fruits, as this information is not related, but I still have there, but it is just not providing the answer because it is just in the middle of the PDF. It is just providing some random answer, but you get the idea. This is the thing that we need to consider when using the locally hosted model and the API endpoint models. You need to be careful which one to use. You need to have good hardware resources. That's the drawback, or let's say that is the point you need to consider to using open source models. And 2024, I think many people are talking about the open source models, running it locally. Small models might be the big models and so on. Let's see where we will be in 2024. Okay, you might be thinking that, okay, you are saying 5 kg of apple, you are providing the small thing, but what it is like. Let me just drag it here. This is the PDF file that I'm uploading. And as you can see, this is the transcript of the video create llama. But what I have done deliberately here is in between the text, if you go down here, I have just provided the price of 5 kg of apple and orange is 20 and 25 B2 respectively. So meaning that it is not getting the answer from there because it is just trying to answer, but it is not providing the answer. But just to test this, what I will do now is go to the Quivr, and this is the app that is running not locally but on the hosted version, right? What I will do here is, let me go to the test brain here again. Error occurred, and what I will do is here I will upload the document. I will go to the knowledge and I will upload the same PDF file, right? I'm uploading the same PDF file, send to my brain. Let me see if it answers here because this is using the OpenAI's model, right? Okay, this is uploaded. I will go to the chat, and then here this is the test, and I will ask here what is the price of 5 kg of apple. Let me see if it provides the answer or not, just to show you that choosing the model different. Okay, the price of 5 kg of apple is 20 euro because now this is using the OpenAI's model. I'm just showing you because this is the difference of using the API endpoints, because that is hosted somewhere. We just pay for it and use the API, and the local ones we are hosting ourselves, and the hardware or the RAM or all these things affects the answer. So yeah, that's all for this video. Okay, before I complete the video, as I said you before, I use the LangSmith, right? All the traces are being recorded here. As you can see, this is the Quivr, and if I go inside this, there were 3 different LLM calls I made. As you can see, if I just click on this one, this is the question, what is the price of 5 kg of apple, what is create llama, chat history, and all the different things. And there is the LLM chain, there is the retriever, stuff, document chains, and all the different things. You can go here and see the metadata here. This is the feedback and so on, right? This is how you can trace the LLM calls that you make in your application using LangSmith. If you want to know more stuffs, then please watch my previous videos where I have explained in depth about what is LangSmith. I hope you know now how to run models locally, what is the difference between models used by BI API and all the different things. Yeah, let's see how it goes, and let's see in the future more and more models will be more robust, and we can use that models as the big companies hosted models. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.